take a seat. Then we are going to start today with Ivar, if I say it properly. Ivars, okay. Then I give you the talking stick.
Okay, we have 5 minutes, so quickly. So we all should know by now that Python uses reference counting to release the memory, and that is happening in most of the cases. However, there might be some circular references, and for that there's the garbage collector. And the most important thing is it stopped the world. It means that none of your code will execute during that. And the implementation for that is that there are primitive objects which use just the reference counting, like numbers and strings and so on, and then this garbage collector only works for containers, lists, maps, dictionaries, sets, classes, and so on. So how does it work? If we import GC and ask for thresholds, there's this Gen 0 threshold is 700. So what is 700? 700 is the number of allocated GC collectible objects at the moment. So it's every time a GC collectible object is allocated, there's an internal counter being incremented, and every time it's deallocated, it's decremented. And when it goes over 700, GC kicks in. So we can turn on the debugger for GC, and then if we allocate 800 strings, so nothing happens, is because the strings follow this reference rule and they do not create circular references, so there's nothing to check. However, if we do that same for 800 dictionaries, then the GC kicks in. It does its work for nothing because there's nothing to be collected. And this often happens when we load large, it's 700, it's not large, but when we load CSV files, JSON files, and everything, so the GC kicks in, does its work, burns CPU cycles, and does nothing good. So what about Django? Well, the query set made a decision that it will cache the result internally. If you do not want to do that, you have to use this dot iterator. So how GC interacts with this query set? So here I have a simple model. It's just 3 fields, like auto field, decimal field, and integer, nothing fancy. And then I have this loop, which actually kind of doesn't load objects. It just, the intention is to iterate through 200 objects, so it looks like kind of stream processing, but in reality, because of this caching, it loads objects and the GC kicks in after loading around 200 models. And if we do the same with iterator, so there's no GC, which is like it's supposed to be. And then if we get some kind of related models, so here I added a foreign key to the client. The same effect is if I had like a column with a JSON type. So in this case, it's sufficient to load 100 objects because I fetch also this related record. So what it means is that this GC threshold for Django ORM objects is around 200. So as you load 200 Django objects, the GC kicks in, does its work, and burns your CPU cycles, and everything works slow. What to do with it? So try to use iterator as much as you can. Then you can increase this Gen 0 threshold, but that leaves you open for cases when the GC will kick in when the memory is already used in these circular references too much. My favorite one is this disable GC, where you can annotate either use it as a context manager or annotate a function so that for the scope of the function, GC will not be running. And when the function ends, so most of the objects will be released anyway because of the reference counting, and if there's some garbage left, then GC will collect it. And there's also another approach is to turn off GC completely, and this is something that Instagram is doing, and they succeed with it. So maybe you should consider it as well. Thanks.
Okay, hi. Yeah, so this is for like small and mid-sized Django projects. What's fairly commonly happens is, say you have a client and the client is like some kind of data manager, and you build them this Django app and they need to administrate the data, so you show them the Django admin interface and they think, oh, this is just perfect. Like 99% perfect. You know, they want some small things here and there. And so you start adding those things. Like here, for example, this is a JSON field, but I added like a custom widget so that instead of the JSON, they see this instead, right? So, and it's true false values for these various attributes. So the client is happy. But what's the problem with this? Any idea? Like what is, so I mean, and this can just be the beginning, no? Because now the data administrator wants some other features, they want to hide some models, maybe they want like, when I went into projects that others had built already, it often turns out that like, oh, if you click the save button, it doesn't actually save. Instead, it like sends an email to somebody that like it should be saved, and like there's more and more things are happening to try to accommodate for this data data manager that make the whole admin interface not work in the default way. And so here, for example, if anything in this JSON field is not one of these attributes, it will probably not be shown. Like I as the developer, I cannot use that any longer. So what I've started doing is this. So this is what I want to see, no? So I can actually see what is the JSON in there. So what I've started doing is, instead of modifying the admin interface for them, I simply add a second admin interface. So this is fairly easy to do. You make like a copy of the admin interface class, you subclass it, and so you have now two. So you have back office, which that's for the data manager, and an admin, that's for the developer and those who actually need to have access to like the default Django interface or something very close to it. And that way I can have two admin interfaces. Yeah. Comments on this? Any other way of doing this? Better ways? Nope? Hmm? No questions or comments. Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are you okay? Then I think we are missing two presenters. No? Who want to go for Django Social?
Thank you. Good spot, whoever saw that. Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm going to try and do this on time, this one. Okay, so I want to talk about Django Social. Just a quick show of hands. Who here has heard of or has been to a Django Social event before? Yeah, cool. The idea for this whole thing started actually last year at the Django Day event. It was the first time that, I suppose, after a couple of years of being locked inside through the pandemic, that I got in a room again with Django people. Loved the experience. It was great fun. And it gave me that bug for getting back out, being sociable and seeing people out and about. But I had spent 10 years previously hosting and organising like a quarterly, monthly-ish meet-up in London, which became quite a lot of effort every time to find speakers, to find venues. I had a sponsor already, but it was just effort and quite a lot of fatigue by the time we stopped. And so the idea behind Django Social was being to have an easy to run social event. It started off in London. We just went for a walk around Regent's Park after work. 7 or 8 people. Will was there actually. Some guy from an eye hospital, a couple of foreign language students, somebody who liked the film Django Unchained came along. The idea behind it is that it's just having that in-person interaction in a city near you where Django is the common interest and the conversation starter. I think a lot of people, Ronnie mentioned earlier that the Cologne Django meetup is the only one that has restarted in Germany since the pandemic. And I know that's similar across a lot of places. I know Ben's mentioned that the Django Denmark, this is the only meetup that happens really anymore. So the idea behind Django Social, there's the walk actually. You can see us all there. Adam was there, Adam Johnson. But we've also done, we had a summer barbecue, we had a co-working day we've done a couple of times where people just bring their laptop and work in a room with other people again. With a lunch break and beers after work, social. We've had a picnic, we've had a shuffleboard night, all sorts of quite easy to run, low admin events. The group itself has grown a little bit organically. It's now held in London, Bristol, Cambridge. Manchester needs a new organiser, Berlin. The group is there, just needs somebody to step in and organise the first meetup. Porto, New York, and then, this shouldn't have been on the same line, Raleigh, Durham. We're having a Django social meetup the night before DjangoCon starts next week. And then hopefully they will continue to run those monthly afterwards. So why is it so simple? The idea, well, organiser fatigue, it's hard work. Meetups with speakers still happen. We're very lucky in London that there is a monthly-ish meetup with speakers, with interesting talks where you can go and attend and learn, but a lot of people turn up anyway just for the socialising before that interaction, the people side of it. So the future of Django Social, we've got a new website being built, but we use meetup.com where you can go on and find any of the groups that are there. But how can you help? Join the community on meetup.com and find a group near you. If there isn't one, I've listed them all, so if there isn't one, please just get in touch. And if you have the inclination or you want to try and get people out and about in your city that like Django, that you can meet up with and collaborate on an event, just get in touch and we can set you up with a group, we can advertise it, we can help you to plan your first event, and then we just ask you to plan another and another and keep it going regularly. Try to run on a monthly basis. The London one we try and do on the last Thursday so everybody knows, so you can plan your working week to be in the city. This is how to get in touch with me or with Django Social.
Thank you. And one talk now about color blindness. Yes. Let you and view full screen.
How do I turn that into presentation mode? Play, maybe?
Probably.
And I guess just space bar to move it on. Right, thank you. The original plan was this was going to be a longer presentation, but life kind of got in the way, so it's a 5-minute lightning talk now. So you can find me in all the usual places, and I'm Mitch J. Nitch everywhere, basically. So today, this is more an awareness talk. I'd like to ask you to consider the colourblind. Now, there are 4 lines on here. Hopefully, everyone can see the top line this time. I did this PyCon UK the other week, and no one could see the top line. I've made it slightly lighter this time. It says, this is pretty hard to read for most people. You probably wouldn't design your website to look like this, dark grey on black. Line 2 and 3 are also fairly difficult to see if you happen to be colourblind. And the third line, there are 2 different colours there. The only reason I know there's 2 different colours there is because I actually formatted it with 2 different colours myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a clue, frankly. Out of interest, how many people have trouble seeing or distinguishing any of the last 3 lines there? Is it just me? Anyone else? No? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. No, not just me then. No, good. Well, not good, but you know what I mean. I mean, this comes up all the time. Terminals can be particularly heinous. Red on black, dark blue on black, black on red. Red is always error messages, so that can be particularly problematic. I've been told, oh, just configure your terminal. We don't have options to configure colors in this CLI. And that's very nice, but you know, I've got 27 CLIs on my system, and you know, they all use a different combination. If I change yellow, then it doesn't work for something else then, you know. So, yeah, think about it if you're designing CLIs, if you're building something like that, just consider who can read it and preferably add some kind of configurability in to make it easy for people to change on your specific application. And it's gone. And I kind of need the visual aids for this. There we go. Yeah. There we go. No? You have to stay there now.
Okay.
We'll see. Yeah, okay, so 2 examples of data visualization and things. Left one's from a ticket booking website, seats in a venue. That's not a great example. Ideally, you'd want some other indicator other than just colors for this kind of thing. As in the one on the right, where you can see, okay, even if I can't see the colors there, this one's on squares, this one's got circles, this one's got triangles and X's. You can actually distinguish those things without having to rely on the colors. So there are ways around. You can use colors, but use something else as well. Few resources that are quite useful for this sort of thing. Whocanuse.com. I'll show you what that looks like in just one second. Colorblind.org on Twitter. They do show some rather fun and heinous examples of problems from. And wearecolorblind.com, incorrect American spelling. Apologies to the Americans if there are any. This is Who Can Use, which is quite good. You can put your color combinations in, and it will tell you, okay, people with this kind of color deficiency will have problems seeing it. Not just for color blindness, it's, I think, cataracts, glaucoma, things like that. Other kinds of vision deficiencies are further down if you scroll down. It's just a screen copy, so I can't scroll. But if you're in any doubt about the color combinations you're choosing, chuck them in here and see what it says. It's a very useful tool. I think more people should use it. And finally, here's just a few examples. These are all from colorblind.org on Twitter. The one with the lights on the router, that's, oh God, I hate these things. They hold the button until the green light turns yellow or the yellow light turns green. Oh, great, I'll be here till next week. Brilliant. Yeah, but it's, as you can see, it's problems all over the place. Sports is quite common, and football teams wearing similar kits, and you can't tell who's in possession at any given time. So it shows up everywhere. So yeah, just as I say, more an awareness talk. So please, when you're building front end visualizations, whatever, please consider the colorblind.
Thank you.
Okay, hi. Second time me on stage. I built a very small thing I want to share with you because there was one thing that annoyed me as much as building emails manually. And it's about permission fixtures. You already have seen these slides. In most applications, the permissions are very, very important. So they're like an integral part of the application. And mostly you have many permissions if the system is, or the application is a little bit bigger. And the permissions have to be synced on every system you have, test, stage, and to all of your developers as well working on the system. So if somebody changes something, it needs to go on the system at some point. And usually, there are Django fixtures. It's a JSON file, and it's a huge JSON file. And this will export the ID as well, because there are all records in the database, and I don't need the ID, I don't want the ID. The JSON structure is kind of hard to manipulate, and it's very, very prone to merge conflicts, believe me. And it's really hard to fix them, because you always need this importing, exporting crap. And, oh, sorry. Yeah. So this is kind of hard. So I built something in our company toolbox. There's just many useful things in there. You can have a look. It's called Ambient Toolbox. And I try to use a Pythonic structure for this. Everything is under version control. And yeah, let me show you how this works. And here basically is an example. This would just a file that live in a permissions package inside, for example, the account Django app. And for the group editor, you would have a permission declaration. Permissions always are based on the model. So you have, for example, for the article, you would have these 3 default permissions. Yeah, per model, which the editor should have permissions to, you just add one of this. And then, yeah, in the end, you just merge them. And you can then load them via a management command, which you can use in your CI. You can unit test the command. There's a helper for this. If you want to avoid like putting all the permissions from all your Django apps in one place, then you can just create kind of like per app permission files and just merge them, and then when you import them, so you don't glue all the context together. And yeah, if you just need all of the default permissions, especially for kind of higher ranking permission levels, groups like managers or so, there's a helper which generates the 4 default permissions for add, delete, create, and view. Yeah, I don't have a slide for the management command, but it comes in very handy, because then it will just install all the permission fixtures and give you a neat output on what has changed for which groups. And yeah, as I said, there's a helper. You can just add this to your unit test. It's just a 1 line, and it will automatically test if this works and if you made any typos with your permissions. Because if you look at this, if you make a typo here, or if this permission doesn't exist, then you wouldn't recognize until your code doesn't work. But this checker for the unit test will do such a thing for you. Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much. And I guess now it's time for another drink. Yes. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you. We have a. Can we get a laptop up here with the closing words? Or are they on this one? What can this talk be about? It's called closing words. There we go. Emil, do you want to do it with me? Grab a mic. Come up here.
I nod. Okay.
All right.
You're so polite. Sure.
So we want to end the day. I haven't said much before any talk about like how amazing the talk is, because it was obviously like gonna be an amazing talk. That's why we come here, and that's why we keep doing this. every time it's another encouragement. But now let's get really explicit about it, right? First slide.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thank you to everyone who got a corporate supporter ticket. And that means, yes, applause. And there are 6 of them. And you can meet them all here. And of course, this would have been a kind of weird day if we didn't have speakers.
Very
Thank you to each and every one of you who showed up with a talk. Thank you for taking the time to write the proposal, to prepare the talk, all this invisible work of creating talks that as like the lower part of the iceberg, right? So yeah, thank you. And we look forward to publishing your talks so that you can share them. Yes. Everyone that showed up, applaud yourself. And yes, do you want to say something about?
No, I don't want to say anything. You're doing great.
Okay.
Keep on going.
Well, there is one person in the room who can receive your applause, and he's sitting there. Fernando has been doing streaming and also a lot of preparation the day before, so yesterday. If you need someone to do streaming for another event, maybe ask Fernando. Yeah, and to the rest of the venue, of course, also, they're not here to hear this, but we are very grateful to be able to do it here at Union, and we're very seriously considering doing it here next year also. Okay, we had the
I'm
idea
just reading in the slide again. You know, you need to prepare the presentation. But,
no, we wanted to put this little reminder that there is still time to fill in the Django developer survey. So go to the djangoproject.com and give your inputs there. That helps shape the future of Django. It's a really important survey, and you'll also be shared the results back afterwards. So yeah, make a difference. That's a way to make a difference. It doesn't take so much time. Yep. Now, the talks will be online very soon. Also, thanks to Fernando, to edit this very quickly and make sure that we can see it, watch it on YouTube and on the website. So yeah, please share them when they come up. We don't know what will be the date of the next Django Day Copenhagen. We know what will be the year, but we're gonna sort it out quite soon. We learned from a past mistake to never announce a date before you have booked the venue. That's also incidentally why this year it's in October. We actually tried to make it in April, but got caught up without a venue. If you want to help organize, that would be super nice. Just come and ask us. We would love to have some help in doing this. There's a bit of work involved. I would say that having the venue is already a lot of pieces of the puzzle. But of course there is a lot of practical things, and organizing can also be fun. So it's a good balance between fun and work. Yeah, we would love to see some more people, to have some more shoulders to carry the weight. And yeah, we will be back next year. So
And I would like to add, like, people who have been helping out today has been like a tremendous help. So can we have a little applause for you, please? That's just a good example of, like, it doesn't take much more than that, you know, just to kind of on the day help out with the actual execution. So like someone else can take all the stress of like finding a venue and booking in food and buying beer and etc. But just on the day, host the lightning talks. Awesome. That's all.
Yeah. Thank you. What's the next slide? Aha. This is like the opposite of Django Social. It's the an announcement that yes, we have this meetup group. It's a little bit confusing. We didn't want to delete it because there's so many people in it, but we don't get any feedback from there. It's kind of weird. So don't expect that by signing up here you will somehow receive events and news. But we have a newsletter instead, and please do use that. And when you bought a ticket, you were asked if you want to receive it. If you said no, and now you want to change your mind, you can also find the link to sign up for the newsletter on our social media profiles. All right. Party. Please get food before the party. We reserve a little bit of time here. It's 6 o'clock now, so in 1.5 hours we will expect to be back here. So that should be enough time to go and get something to eat nearby. And the big event during the party is the pub quiz. And the pub quiz has been prepared by Joseph. Super secret stuff. You won't know anything about the questions beforehand. You have to be there. Aside from that, there will be drinks, music. We'll set up some tables. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the nice leather balloons that you saw in the photo in John's slideshow. Yeah, we went to 4 different shops yesterday, and they're not selling them anymore. That also means we're not doing a group photo after this, but we have such a nice group photo from last year. It's completely impossible to outdo. What's that? Okay, you want? Is it by popular demand there will be a group photo? All right, we will do a group photo.
Okay.
Yeah, so yes, of course, payment. We have payment up there, so you can pay with card, and any of the backup options can be considered. And we close at 12. If you want to stay at 12, the requirement for staying is to help to clean up. But that's okay. Yeah. Anything I forget on this slide? Yes, then you go home and sleep.
No more slides. The clicker is, I can't click more.
I thought there would be like
I'm done.
a finish of the closing talk will be difficult then. So
but I think that's it, folks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
See you back here very soon. If you want to stay, that also requires to help out a little bit. But do get food.
Yes.